Now it's rolling. Okay, you're all set.
Alright, good afternoon everyone. Thank you so much for coming in. Today we're going to talk about active shooter events and safety planning. We've had a string of active shooter events recently that kind of warrant more interest in what you would do if you found yourself in a situation. Unfortunately, none of us would want to ever find ourselves in a situation like this, but it's more important to know what to do and never have to use it than it would be to be in this situation and have no idea what to do. So this is more of like a proactive approach to a situation you could find yourself in. So let's go over our objectives. We're first going to define what an active shooter event is, describe significant active shooter events, examine the mindset of an active shooter. We'll also talk a little bit about characteristics of an active shooter event. We'll identify proper active shooter response, and then we'll take a minute to state escape plans from where you are. Okay? So, the Department of Homeland Security defines an active shooter event as an individual actively engaged in killing or attempting to kill people in a confined or populated area. So some of the significant active shooter events that have occurred, that have received a lot of attention from the media are as follows. For respect for the victims, I'm not going to say the names of the assailants because they don't deserve to be recognized. We had an incident in Fort Hood near Killeen, Texas in 2009. The casualties there were equated to the most casualties at any American military base. There were 13 fatalities and 30 that were injured. In Aurora, Colorado on July 20th, 2012, an assailant entered the Century Aurora 16 multiplex theater. He claimed the lives of 12 people and injured 58. In Newtown, Connecticut, there was a Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting that took place on December 14th, 2012. 28 were killed, 2 were injured. And one of the more recent ones was the Los Angeles International Airport shooting that happened on November 1st, 2013. There was only 1 fatality, however there were 7 injured. One of the things that made this one so profound was that the assailant targeted government workers specifically to kill. Okay. So the mindset of an active shooter. An active shooter is looking for mass casualty. They plan out the event very, very carefully. The assailant from Aurora, Colorado spent a lot of time planning out what he was doing. He actually bypassed 2 theaters on his way to the multiplex in Aurora because neither one of those had signs to leave your guns in your cars. Like, there were no weapons allowed on premises at the Auroraplex Theater, Cineplex, which made it a more viable target for him. So it's planned out very carefully. The other thing about an active shooter is that they're prepared to die. They have this very well planned out idea that they're going to do this, but they really don't have any plans for what happens after. Okay. They're looking for some sort of immortality by committing these attacks or actions. When we look at active shooter events, we know that they're very unpredictable. They have no pattern in choosing their victims. It's really just who they come across. They evolve quickly. They only last about 10 to 15 minutes, and law enforcement is deployed to stop these events. Okay, so we've talked a lot about what an active shooter is, why they kind of do what they do, but more importantly, we need to know what we're going to do if we find out that we find ourselves in this situation. So we're going to watch a quick video and then we'll discuss some of the tactics that you can use to protect yourselves and the people around you. So it'll just take a minute to load. Do you want to, are you good there?
It's going.
Ready?
Yep.
It may feel like just another day at the office, but occasionally, life feels more like an action movie than reality. The authorities are working hard to protect you and to protect our public spaces. But sometimes bad people do bad things. Their motivations are different. The warning signs may vary, but the devastating effects are the same. And unfortunately, you need to be prepared for the worst. If you were ever to find yourself in the middle of an active shooter event, your survival may depend on whether or not you have a plan. The plan doesn't have to be complicated. There are 3 things you could do that make a difference. Run, hide, fight. First and foremost, if you can get out, do. Always try and escape or evacuate, even when others insist on staying. Encourage others to leave with you, but don't let them slow you down with indecision. Remember what's important, you, not your stuff. Leave your belongings behind and try to find a way to get out safely. Trying to get yourself out of harm's way needs to be your #1 priority. Once you are out of the line of fire, try to prevent others from walking into the danger zone and call 911. If you can't get out safely, you need to find a place to hide. Act quickly and quietly. Try to secure your hiding place the best you can. Turn out lights, and if possible, remember to lock doors. silence your ringer and vibration mode on your cell phone. And if you can't find a safe room or closet, try to conceal yourself behind large objects that may protect you. Do your best to remain quiet and calm. As a last resort, if your life is at risk, whether you are alone or working together as a group, fight. Act with aggression. Improvise weapons. Disarm him. And commit to taking the shooter down, no matter what. Try to be aware of your environment. Always have an exit plan. Know that in an incident like this, victims are generally chosen randomly. The event is unpredictable and may evolve quickly. The first responders on the scene are not there to evacuate or tend to the injured. They are well trained and are there to stop the shooter. Your actions can make a difference for your safety and survival. Be aware and be prepared. And if you find yourself facing an active shooter, there are 3 key things you need to remember to survive. Run, hide, fight.
Okay, so that gives you a pretty good overview of some of the things that you could do to respond to an active shooter event. Let's recap a little bit. Whenever you're in a situation, and it's just a good practice, where if you're out at the mall or at a restaurant or at a sporting event, just kind of look around your surroundings and say, okay, how would I get out of here if I needed to? Look for exits, look for doorways, ways to get out of a situation if you really had to. You also want to look for places to hide. Remember, you want to be out of the view of a shooter. One of the teachers at Sandy Hook, Connecticut, actually was able to save her students because she was able to keep them out of the view of the shooter. You want to look for furniture that can be used as a shield. Desks, photocopiers, anything that's heavy and dense that would stop bullets from coming through and getting to you. You want to look for offices or rooms that have locks on them, and you want to make sure that you silence your cell phone. You have the best hiding spot ever, and if your cell phone goes off, now you've given yourself away. Opposing the shooter is a last resort. That's if you don't have any other option at all. And when you decide to do this, you have to commit to it completely. It's either an all or nothing. And you do your best to act aggressively. You yell at them, throw hard objects at them, try to disable them in any way that you can. You can find something to hit them with, like a fire extinguisher or a chair, like you saw in that video, something that's going to stop them from moving forward. So those are all really good options for you if you find yourself in this position. Okay, so by now you should be able to define what an active shooter is, describe significant active shooter events, examine the mindset of an active shooter, identify proper active shooter response, and state escape plans for where you are. Okay? Alright, thank you so much for attending, and I really appreciate your attention for this presentation. Thanks.